Honeymoon Studio.
Powered by
Diplo.
Nicholas, how you doing?
Hi, Rob. Yeah.
I mean, I asked you how you were doing, and I noticed you didn't actually answer that question. You just said,
Well, I
hi,
was.
Rob.
Yeah. I know. My brain was flooded with possible answers.
That is exactly how I feel as well. The myriad ways in which you can answer that question are just overwhelming.
For our listeners, I'd just like to say that we're actually having this conversation over Zoom, which is remarkable because Zoom is now flooded with communications. My kids were at a Zoom assembly today.
Really?
At their school. We have now Zoom family teas. We have Zoom Friday night Shabbat. The first Zoom funeral/wake happened in our community this week.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, the last one's a joke, but I'm pretty sure it's coming soon.
Okay. Oh my God.
And I'm pretty sure there's a Zoom divorce that's on the way.
Definitely. In fact, I think there's probably already been a Zoom divorce recorded by mistake that it will get discovered. I saw a tweet earlier saying, just FYI, private comments that you send to individuals on a Zoom meeting are in the transcript of the Zoom meeting at the end of the meeting for everyone to see.
What?
Yes, this is vital information. I think we need to
This
be
is very
sending out there.
important.
Yeah.
Very important information.
I want to know, and I've been in your study many times, but I can't believe I haven't noticed that weird-looking wig in the background over there. What is that? Is that a wig?
That is actually a mask.
With hair?
Belonging, it's like feathers. The one up there. Yeah, it's a mask, a Halloween-ish type of mask belonging to my cousin Harold Epstein, who's actually a craniosacral therapist who, he's not doing this, but I think he should be practicing via Zoom.
He probably is. He will be by the end of next week.
He might be. I don't know. But he does this thing when he's working on you doing the craniosacral thing. He'll have his hands on your head and he'll go, and that's my favorite part of it. I can't feel any benefits other than listening to that.
That reminds me of a chiropractor I saw who he would like fiddle with your ankles and he'd hold your toes and then he'd say, just think of the word father. And now think of the word sandwich. And then he'd go, yes, very good. Which I thought was quite strange. Anyway, what was I going to say? I just got distracted by my wife who went trying to...
You asked me how I am in the midst of an apocalypse.
Yes. It's such a stupid question to ask people right now. It's so ridiculous. How are you? Well, Armageddon better.
We're all unreliable narrators, so when we ask that question, it's you're bound to get an inaccurate response. But I have had a couple of challenging days. I think my wife went back to work, as I mentioned to you.
Yeah.
At some point. I can't even remember what we talked about in the first episode, so hopefully we don't repeat ourselves. But she went back to work in this very office as an online doctor, which meant that I had to keep the children separated from her while she's consulting. And on 3 occasions today, the toddler, while I wasn't looking, made her way into the consulting rooms. Yeah, and then I don't know if you've seen that BBC video where the guy is...
It's exactly what I was thinking, right?
I was the woman. I was the Asian wife. Sprinting in, grabbing the toddler's ankles, and removing her. And then my wife was very upset, and she was like, I've missed 2 patients, because it goes ding, and then if she doesn't click on the patient, somebody else does. She was like, I've missed 2 patients, and what are you doing in the toilet? I was in the toilet just next to this office.
You were hiding.
And she overheard me talking. I was talking on the phone to our friend KG, and she said, why were you talking to him? I'm working here. And I said, I was multitasking. I wasn't hiding. I was making a number 2 and talking to KG. And then she said, why were you doing that?
Don't you realize that is not healthy?
That's impolite. Thoroughly. I washed my hands vigorously and I sang happy birthday to KG, even though it's not his birthday.
Oh my God. Did you wash your phone?
No, I didn't wash my phone, but I have washed another phone that someone dropped off for somebody else illegally.
Oh, wow. Essential goods. Essential contraband.
So I've wanted to shout. I've shouted a lot. I've actually sworn in front of my kids for the first time, I think, in their lives.
Really?
Over the last week. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm so super impressed that you've managed to not swear for this long. I've been fucking swearing since my child was born.
I don't know why. It just was not something I would do. And then this week I was literally on the couch next to... Did I use the word literally correctly there? Because I wouldn't be figuratively on the couch.
Well, you might be. It might be like feeling like you need counseling, and you were, I was on the couch.
Yes.
Like you were doing a lot of self-ruminating and kind of... But I think, I'm being kind.
Okay.
It was a poor...
I was literally on the couch next to
literally.
3-year-old Sophie, and she, and I swore. I don't know what I said. Like, I don't know. Fuck my life, or some version of that. And my wife said, there's a 3-year-old sitting next to you. And I was like, she's 3.
That's why my life is fucked. Don't you understand?
Anyway, that was like 2-3 days ago. And she didn't repeat any of that. Until this morning, when she stood on top of the sofa and for about 3 minutes sang, fucky, 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 froggy, fucky, fuck, fucky, 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 froggy, fuckity, fuck, fuck. Or some version of that. But it had the words fucky, fucky, fucky in it.
It's catchy. It's definitely catchy. I think she might have something there. Oh, God. Well, I mean, I did do that breakfast show with you online. When was that? 2 days ago? 3 days ago? And
yeah.
I witnessed you feed your toddler a chocolate cupcake for breakfast. So at this stage, not 1, 2, 3
in a row.
You only have yourself to blame at this stage, Nick. I'm sorry.
I thought that I was doing a good thing by not putting them on a television screen or any screen. And then I had to find a way to bribe her because I was doing a live show. And then this morning, I did the show again. And I decided to put them in front of the screen because it was too distracting for the viewers. And then my wife came in and went, why are these children on screens? Why are they on screens at this time of the morning?
Because I'm on a screen trying to make a living. She's like, I've missed 4 more patients in this time while you are checking your feed.
The only inaccurate part of that sentence was making a living.
I mean, okay, how is that going for you with this online stuff?
Well, I actually got one job. Perhaps my first job. I don't like to call this social influencing because I don't think we may be influencing people positively. I don't know, but I had a live show where I invited Rob and Vuuren on, and he arrived in a tree. I think that's the best description.
It was more like a creeper.
A creeper. He was in a creeper.
I thought that show went particularly well. Actually, I thought it was quite funny.
It was particularly dark for, I think, the followers of a beer company who didn't expect that.
I think it's exactly what they needed.
But I think it's what they needed.
I was feeling particularly acerbic, and I felt like I was a little bit at my wit's end, and I kind of gave you the darkest version of myself in this. Well, not the darkest version, but it's certainly a dark version. And listen, I watched it back, and I was like, that's actually quite funny. Because it's tricky trying to figure out what works with the online comedy stuff. And I had a breakthrough tonight, actually. Really, really, really great breakthrough that I'm very, very happy about. So
I'd like to know what that was.
Okay, so I did the Twaki show, which worked really, really well because, as we've spoken about, the character is great. The character doesn't rely on laughter. The character has its own kind of internal rhythm that can work in a very monologue style, and is somehow for me a lot easier to improvise with. And Twaki's energy is really manic, and it can kind of go anywhere. That's great. Then myself, it's a little bit more difficult to navigate. And then I did a one-man show with myself, which was fine. It was cool, but not as great as the Twaki thing. And then I did a comedy club thing where I had Lindy Johnson on as a guest and Carl Weber on as a guest, and they were great. However, it's not comedy. It's not stand-up comedy. And I think the messaging is incorrect when you say, hey, join us online for this comedy club, we're going to do a comedy show. Because then there's an expectation. The audience expects comedy. They expect a certain kind of thing. And rhythmically, it's completely different because you're doing setup, punchline, but you can't do that now, and you immediately kind of default into a more conversational tone. But because you've set it up as a comedy thing, it doesn't. There's something like that's askew about it from the start. And then I got some really nice feedback from Stuart Taylor, who I think he'd spent the morning talking to you actually, and then he phoned me, and. No, he mentioned he had spoken to you or something. Stuart is, for our listeners who don't know, Stuart's also a comedian, Cape Town comedian. And he was saying that, the comedy stuff's not great, but as soon as you started telling a story, I was telling this embarrassing story from my childhood that Danny and I had picked up on. We were reminiscing about unrequited love in our youth. He said that was really interesting because now it was a story and I wanted to get more into it. And then Danny and I started talking about that's actually quite nice. And maybe if it's more of a set up as a conversational tone, but there's a theme each time you do a show. And I was like, yes, that works. And then what I wanted to do is grab a theme, but then have guests on who are not comedians necessarily, just people watching the show who are resonating with what you're talking about, and along that theme have something to share. And so I did that tonight. I had my show was Rob's Storytime, and the theme was love, unrequited and awkward. And I started sharing stories from my childhood of horrible relationships that went wrong, and then people started phoning in and telling stories, and some of the stuff I got was incredible. People sharing these really dark. One lady was talking about this. She met this guy in Scotland. They dated for 4 years. They became engaged, and just before they were about to get married, she came home one night and her entire furniture set was gone, and her TV, and her dog hadn't been fed in days, and her fiance had disappeared with all of her goods. And she raced to the airport and found her fiance and her mother-in-law, about to like skip the country with like the cash from all of her stolen goods. It's like this really crazy personal story that this person shared, but I don't know, it just really, really worked in terms of like the show format was amazing, and it felt really genuine in terms of connecting with people out there, and there were certainly comedic elements to it, but it wasn't a comedy show. It was something else, and it worked. It worked. It really, really worked. So I'm really excited about that and exploring that further, and then also seeing, because I've got this whole Busker Live QR code thing where people can make donations if they like the content. I'm interested to see what kind of response, like fiscal response, I'm going to get from that show, and see if that's like a nice long-term solution.
The fiscal response is
it's a great term, isn't it?
It's a nice response to get.
That's the best. It's the best kind of response in these times. Like, I'm not so much into the laughy cry emojis as much as I am into a fiscal response right now.
And the fiscal response, it seems, is directly correlated to, in the words of Donovan Copley, who was my guest this morning, being of service in some way.
Yes. Now this is something interesting because you sent me that thing about our responsibility as artists and comedians right now in this moment is to educate people and to tell them to stay at home and to tell them to wash their hands. And
may I point out that I wasn't the originator? Can I just say that on the record?
Yes, you were not the originator, but it was a message that was sent to you and that you then forwarded on to me. And we had a bit of a discussion about this. And I feel like, so picking up what you said, what Donovan said, yes, we want to be of service in some way, but our service is not, I believe this firmly, is not to educate people about this virus or this pandemic or what we need to do. Yes, we may have some sort of influence, but my job as an artist or a satirist or a comedian or whatever you want to call it is not to tell people like what their medical responsibility is here, because I'm not an expert on that. And anyone who is taking their expertise about this virus from a comedian is fucking barking up the wrong tree. Our responsibility and our sorry, this door's opened and there's running water. Let me just close it quickly. Hang on a second. Hold that thought. I'm coming back. I'm making a point.
I just, while you hold on to that thought, I just had another thought about your dripping water, did you say?
Yes, it's a shower, actually.
Yeah. Have you noticed that you know how you can't skip and be unhappy at the same time?
Yes.
Well, have you also noticed how it's difficult for two apocalypses
to happen,
to coexist at the same time? One cannot be worried about dying from a virus and a dripping faucet, a dripping water could lead to a drought. Those two things cannot coincide. And at the same time, one cannot be worried about plastic, the proliferation of plastic. If you notice, nobody has complained about Woolworths' like insane plastic packaging for the last few weeks.
In fact, they want more plastic.
They want more of it.
Why is this not more vacuum sealed? There should have been, in fact, the person who delivered this to my door should have been in a plastic bubble himself.
Yeah.
I have noticed that.
Anyway, carry on. You were saying.
I was saying that our responsibility as artists is to just do what we do, which is make art and make jokes or whatever it is. We're here to help people feel more human in the face of this seemingly insurmountable crisis. We're not here to teach people how to wash their hands or whatever. They are actual professionals whose job that is. I don't know. That's my feeling about it. Yeah, we don't want to be perpetuating dangerous messages, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, Nick. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're trying to say. I know exactly what you're trying to say.
Tell me what I'm trying to say.
You're trying to say it's not our job to give you medical advice. And
it's your wife's job. That's whose job it is.
But I have to admit, Rob, that I do on occasion like to give medical suggestions. Like today. I gave one today, on this very day.
What was your advice?
Okay, so Debbie said, Adam feels like he's got a temperature. Adam, go take your temperature. So he went, took his temperature, and he said, Mom, it's 37.6. And she said, he's got a fever, love. He can't be running in the triathlon. Okay, the triathlon is something we've set up. You know, we are privileged enough to have a bathroom and a small alley that you can run around the house and cycle around the house and then swim in the pool. And she said, he cannot participate in the triathlon. He's got a fever. And I said, well, let him swim. I'm sure the fever will come down.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's cold, right?
And she said, what are you, some kind of medical professional? That's absolute nonsense.
Exactly my point. We are not the people who should be telling other people what they medically need to do in this situation.
Yeah, we shouldn't.
We are the people who are teaching other people how to scream into the void. That's what we are here to do. It's like scream with me into the void. Scream into the abyss.
And even if you are, listen, even if you are a medical professional, people aren't necessarily going to listen to you.
Exactly. People are doing... I mean... Did you notice there was a lot of people... Did you go out at all today? Or have you been out?
I haven't been out for... How long has this lockdown been?
It's a week and a day.
Well, 8 days.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't been out for 21 days.
I went out for the first time in this lockdown, and there was a lot of people out there.
Mm.
And I was one of those people, but I was going, why are you people out here? I mean, I need bread, but what do you guys need? What are you doing?
Yeah. My wife went out this afternoon, and there was nothing. There was like 5 things in the shop.
See, because everyone was out earlier, taking all the things.
Panic buying.
Panic buying.
We panic bought a mop. I've got this like weird feeling right now that we're kind of in this liminal space where we're not really sure. We've only had how many deaths in South Africa?
7. We've had 7.
7 deaths. So we all know, or we're not medical people, but we kind of know about incubation and a certain period of time, and we all have this sort of vague dread about, is there a wave of death coming our way? We've heard people in the US, Italy, etc., China.
There was also, I saw a tweet, some dude saying that South Africa had ordered 1 million body bags. Did you see that?
Right. I saw some other fake thing about China ordering 30 million incinerators, or enough incinerators to burn 30 million bodies or something like that. But it was untrue. But my point is, it's kind of like, but we don't know. It's like standing on the beach in, where did that tsunami land?
Yeah, in Thailand.
And you don't know if it's a really low tide or what's going on.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's like a little unsettling. It's like, what's going on? What's going to happen?
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
And and as a result, we don't really even know how we are in all of this.
I am transitioning from, episode 1, I was talking about telling my wife she needs to be the breadwinner. And I said it not like that. I said, you need to think about this now. And she said, who you're being is not helpful. And I think we have transitioned into that now. And I spent my whole day putting up the washing and doing the dishes. And, well, I've actually managed to bribe my kids into doing all these things. Did I mention that to you?
No. What are you bribing them with?
I've gamified the chores. There's
good.
a points-based system, and if they get 600 points, that's an hour of screen time. And so I overhear conversations. I wrote a few down. Ben, it's not worth unstacking the dishwasher now. Let's first do the dishes and then unstack, and then we have, and then if we take 2 dog poos, then we have enough for 2 scoops of ice cream.
I'm unsettled by the close correlation between scoops of dog poo and ice cream.
Yeah. So they're doing things that in their entire little white privileged lives they've never had to do before, which is actually quite pleasing to me as I survey the landscape of my kitchen.
We were having an interesting conversation tonight, and I mean, outside of the horror of everything that's happening and the true horror of it. If someone said to you tomorrow, okay, lockdown's over tomorrow, would you be happy?
I'd have mixed feelings about it, I think.
I would as well. That's what I said. It's like both my wife and I were like, I'd actually, but I'd be like, but wait, we've got 2 weeks to go, because it is an unprecedented time that we get to spend with each other, and that's incredible. I'd be really, really relieved to go and earn some money out in the world, but. And I mean, again, I must reiterate, this is, talking outside of the horror of the disease and the havoc it is causing to real people's lives. I'm just talking about this little bubble we find ourselves in. I was like, yeah, man, there's something quite rad about it. My daughter was like, I want out. Let me out of here. I'd be like, yes, thank you. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. So yeah. I guess it's different for her.
I, as you know, have fantasized about buying a van and traveling with my family around a continent or something for a long time. And I feel like this has given me a very real experience of the luxury version of that. Where
like
I can
being
just...
in a house. That is
in a house.
That it doesn't move.
A house. It doesn't move.
But it's like you driving because you can't get out. So the house is driving, but you are not seeing any different vistas, per se.
Yeah. Just getting to be with my family 24/7. And as a result, I may never buy a van.
I think it's done for you. I think it's cured you of that particular fantasy.
But at dinner this evening, we went around the table and my wife was like, I want everybody to check in with your name and 2 feelings. And both of my kids, well, Adam said, I'm happy and nervous. And why are you happy? I'm happy to be with my family. I'm nervous. There'll be no food at the shops again tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, and then we'll starve. And then Ben said he was happy and grateful. And it was a beautiful moment. It was just like, oh wow, we've got this. Perhaps we'll never have this time again with our kids. And that's this very fortunate bubble we're in right now, where only 8 people have died. Nobody we know has died. And it's just like this moment in time now where we haven't been directly impacted.
Yeah, in any real kind of terms. But there are people out there where it is getting realer and realer. And of course, we live in a very privileged position and, white suburbia, because that's still very much how it is. And so, like, lockdown for the vast majority of South Africans is a very, very different story. And that's also interesting how that's playing out across South Africa at the moment. Is like you've seen all those videos about the police making people who have broken, curfew, I guess, in more impoverished areas and townships where they're like making them do frog jumps and they're being quite aggressive and violent with them. But then you see contrasting footage of people in suburbia, like,
flouting.
Flouting their privilege, walking their dogs, running on the beach.
Here. I know somebody who told me he took his dog out for a walk to a nearby park. Okay. He got out the car and then this is the new neighborhood watch. The other dogs in that specific area got so incensed that this dog was about to go for a walk that they lost their minds. And raised the alarm.
There you go.
And he then just told his dog, "Okay, get back in the car. We're going." I don't want to mention any names as to who that person was. Andy Davis.
The same thing happened to us. There's this little alleyway next to our house, which technically isn't our property, but it's tiny little like walkway between us and our neighbor, which we have figured out we can cordon off. We've got these little portable like latte fence kind of structures, which we go at late afternoon, we go and we cordon it off and we take some tires out and we create a little obstacle course for our dogs and we just run our dogs up and down.
Sorry, for our international listeners, latte, of course, is the Afrikaans word for latte, which is an Italian.
It's an Italian word.
Italian word for
milk coffee, a milky coffee.
Yeah, milky coffee, which in Afrikaans will be a coffee, a melkerige koffietjie, which is Afrikaans for coffee enema. An enema, a coffee enema. So we run
but then other dogs and the neighboring dogs do exactly the same thing. They get insanely jealous. They are incensed by this little, 15-meter run that our dogs are going on, and they start barking like crazy. And I am immediately just racked with guilt. I am like, oh God, we should not be doing this. We're not allowed in this little alleyway next to the house. We are breaking lockdown. People are going to hate us. And so we keep running the dogs.
Another traumatic thing I saw yesterday was my neighbor sweeping her driveway.
Why was that traumatic?
I have not seen another white person sweeping since the last Olympics, when I watched the curling. The curling where they they sweep in front of that's the last time I saw this many white people sweeping in South Africa. That wasn't even in South Africa.
So it's a lot of there's a lot of white people doing shit that they wouldn't normally do.
They're doing stuff, eh? They're like, how does this washing machine actually work?
The clothes don't iron themselves. That's incredible. Wow.
Where is the washing line? I actually think my wife asked me that question yesterday.
I had that first. You spoke about this last time we spoke. That waking up at 3 a.m. I had that for the first time last night. But I wasn't anxious. I just woke up. And I was like, oh, this is that thing Nick was talking about. That's real. And there was a neighbor who had gone for essential shopping and drove past our house and stopped, and we chatted. And he said exactly the same thing. He had this waking up at 3 a.m. super anxious. And I wasn't anxious. I was just awake. And I went and I had a wee and I had some juice. And then I went back to bed and I tried to get to sleep. And that's when I started to get anxious.
What did you get anxious about? I want to know.
I felt like I had this thought like, oh, my life is a show now. Now my life is a show, and like the show's not that good.
As in a reality show that you have to keep doing online?
Yeah, a little bit like that.
Yeah,
it's like, I got to keep putting stuff out there, and it's like, oh, I had that thing of like, oh, you got to be better. You got to be better at that, and like even this now is not very interesting, is it? I'm like, well, I'm not fucking doing a show. I'm just trying to fucking sleep right now. Can I just sleep? I struggle with that.
I actually wrote something that I put on my desk in front of me. Do you want to hear it?
I do.
I wrote this for this show that I had to do the other night, and I wrote down, have compassion for your own humanity. Give up trying to look good. Just be connected, breathe. Everybody is dealing with an imperfect mess. And it didn't really help me.
It helped me. You reading that to me helped me.
Because the whole time I was doing the show, I was like, this is not going very well. Is it? I don't know. I can't hear
you were judging yourself on that imperfect mess throughout.
And then I got an SMS from a friend of mine's dad who listened to my... Yeah, same thing you were talking about earlier. It's not a comedy show, but people see our names and they think it's a comedy show.
Yeah.
And then he sent me a WhatsApp the next day. I think I shared this with you, saying, forgive me, but you did yourself no favors last night. And for 2 days, I couldn't respond to that message from, I don't want to mention any names, Andy Davis's father, Paul. And then I replied today saying, listen, one is bound to make a few errors of judgment during an apocalypse. And I think actually we're allowed to, in fact.
Yeah, yeah.
In whatever way you are making errors in your life right now, it's fine.
You've actually touched on something that I'm feeling quite strongly at the moment. It's like people are spending any of their energy and time right now focusing on criticizing other people is a complete misuse of your energy and time right now, in whatever capacity it is. Like if it's something as petty as complaining about someone's comedy or attempt at trying to navigate this new medium and under these circumstances, or whether it's something where people are a little bit more hypervigilant about, which is like, being angry with people walking their dogs and not properly flattening the curve, or whatever it is, being angry at the army, or it's just like, I don't know, it's like the people taking care of that. It's not your job, Helen, on Twitter to, police everybody right now. And if that's where all your energy is being focused, is on, policing other people and criticizing, like I just feel like it's misspent energy right now. And I'm also not saying like go out and write that book and do, because that's another trap people can fall into right now. But I think what you're saying is right. It's like, be compassionate, be kind, be caring, be gentle with yourself and others. So that is really, really the most important thing right now. Waste your energy on being angry with people because then, you see a picture of someone running their dog, or you don't know what's going on. You have no idea what's actually happening. Like, just calm down. Go and water your fucking house plant or something. Focus on yourself. Be kind to yourself and the people around you. If there are no people around you, that's probably your fault.
I was kind to my neighbor today.
Well done.
I went to hang up the washing, and I went and stood on one of those old garbage, black garbage bins, and I put my daughter on my shoulders, and you should probably not try this at home. And we were able to look over the wall to see Julie, the neighbor that we actually bought our plot from. It was her garden, and then they built the wall. Did I ever tell you how they built the wall skew?
No, but I have noticed
Just slightly skew the wall, the dividing wall. And our architect said we had to sue them because they had actually stolen. If you imagine a little triangle at the end of the property,
little acute triangle.
Yeah.
Some of
they
your
stole
square
basically 2.5 square meters of our land.
Should have sued them.
Instead, I put my child on my shoulders and said, "Hi, Julie. How are you guys? Can we go shopping for you?" And she said, "Isn't it such a weird time? I mean, I'm going to have an amazing tan by the end of this. I've never done this much exercise. And I've been watching a lot of movies, and every time a character hugs another character, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it."
That's so weird. I'm having exactly the same experience when I watch anything at the moment. I'm like, I see people out in the street. I'm like, you're breaking lockdown. That's not, you can't be doing that. People hug each other. I'm like, oh, Corona. You don't do that. It's so weird. It's just like reframed everything. Have you read anything? Have you had the space to read any books while you've been...
No. I have not read a book since lockdown.
I read the Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Is that book about the guy in locked in syndrome?
Yes.
Which is just weirdly ironic that I was like looking at all the bookshelves and going like, oh, what's this? And I like looked at it and was like, oh, it's life affirming and it's about locked in syndrome. And I was like, well, hell, let me read that. And it was beautiful. It
is a beautiful book, yeah.
I reread Endgame, the play, the other night, which I performed in 2 years ago, and it was so amazing to that play. So apt right now because it's like this post-apocalyptic vision of the world, and it's just about like, you know, there's this great line on it, in it. You're on Earth. There's no cure for that. And it was so lovely to read it again and hearing all like the play that I did was with the incredible actors, and I could hear all their voices, you know, while I was reading it.
That's an amazing line. You're on Earth. There is no cure for that.
Yeah.
There is no cure for the fundamental uncertainty that we have been unconscious to, going about our lives like it's all certain, and now we're faced with the profound uncertainty of all of it.
Yeah. Oh,
and how do you cultivate just being okay with that?
There's so many great lines in that play. Oh my God. I've actually, so the guy I spoke to you about, Derek, my friend, who is, he was actually the producer of that play, of Endgame. And he's in London at the moment, and I know he was keen to come on as a guest, so maybe we could give him a call later. I'll check with him to see if he's, just to get an idea of what's happening in the UK right now. How are they, what's the vibe on the street there? Marcus, our very able producer, the guy who's pulling all the strings behind the scenes here at And Now, has got a friend who is also an ICU doctor in New York, and he sent us those those voice notes that she sent to him about her experience in the ICU at the moment in New York. Should we play them? I'm going to find them now.
So today's my first day off in like 9 days. I actually thought I was on today, and I went into work like ready, and I got there, and they were like, "No, Sophia, you're not on today," and I literally burst into tears because I was so happy that I could go home. It's like, it's so intense. It's not even like the working hours. Like the working hours, we're built for that, you know, we're used to it. It's like the intensity of the situation. Like, you know, being like a ICU doctor, you normally feel like you have tools in your belt to like deal with things. Oh, if somebody's blood pressure is low, this is what we do. If their oxygenation is low, this is what we do. Like, we are literally doing everything, and it's doing nothing for these fucking patients. Like, I walk around the ICU and like everybody is on maximum vent, maximum blood pressure support, maximum fucking everything. They're on dialysis, and like they're just fucking dying. Like yesterday I had like 3 people die, one after the other, young, old. Like, we're doing everything, nothing's working. It's like this virus is fucking insane, just like ravages people's bodies. So 10 days ago we had no patients. Now we have 4 wards that are just dedicated to coronavirus patients, and I'm getting called from the floors all the time, like, oh, this person was just on a little bit of like nasal cannula oxygen, and now we have them on like full oxygen and they can't breathe, and we have to like crash intubate patients, and it's insane. And like everybody's terrified as well, you know, because any of us can get it, and we've seen young, old people, everybody, you know, do badly. I mean, I'm in the ICU, so I'm only seeing like everyone that's just fucking crashing. So I don't know if the people on the floor are getting it and like doing okay. I'm sure they are, but like it's like seeing like the old nurses going into the rooms and knowing like if they get this, they could die, you know. And it's just so fucking intense, like so intense, like emotionally and physically, and you know, just feeling so useless as a doctor because you're like, nothing I'm doing is working. Like, nothing I'm doing is working. Anyway, so it's 8:28 a.m. and I just came back after realizing I don't have to work today, and I'm in bed and I'm drinking wine.
So that's Sophia, an ICU doctor in New York. Obviously a very different story to what we're dealing with here in South Africa at the moment, but you gotta imagine that our situation is going to become somewhat similar to that. I mean, we are in lockdown, and we went into lockdown certainly a lot sooner than, you know, our response was a lot quicker than the States, you know, for good reason. But it's kind of it's a little bit of a reality check, eh?
It is, and I mean, we don't really know. I was talking to Debbie last night, my wife, and some people think that because of our massive TB problem and vaccinations, most South Africans are vaccinated against TB, that maybe there'll be some kind of defense there, but we actually have no idea yet.
Yeah.
So
what we actually are facing.
Yeah, we're sitting here in this bubble, and it's interesting how right now that affects comedy. I was thinking about this today and thinking, we have this bubble where we can still, it's like, you know, shows, we kind of like, we can still make jokes. We're not affected directly.
Yeah.
We're not affected directly. I think that's the main thing.
I mean, we will still be making jokes no matter what stage of the process we are at. But
we will.
The jokes will change. And I suppose our connection to those jokes, what they mean to us, will change.
I was seeing somebody in the US post about their good comedian friend in their 40s who died yesterday.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And that's the thing about the lockdown for us, because it's happened so early. There is no evidence, like visceral, like in front of our eyes, evidence of why we are doing what we're doing. So it's so easy for people in our position to get totally caught up in this little bubble that we're in and lose perspective on why we're doing and what we're doing and what's actually going on. And that like becomes a space that's rife for like conspiracy theories, for and also just for like, you know, being antagonistic to what it is we're supposed to be doing. Just like, well, this is bullshit. Why am I here? There's no reason for it.
This is another side conversation, but as a result of this lockdown, people are having to be with themselves and others in an unprecedented way. And for some people, they'll resist that process, but there's an opportunity to discover certain things. What have you started to discover for yourself, about yourself?
It's actually really interesting because what I keep finding so strange about this whole thing for me personally is that I underwent a massive life-changing kind of what's the word? What am I trying to say? I basically, like a week, 2 weeks before lockdown, my life changed quite dramatically and fundamentally in me coming to terms with a lot of my own shit, my own problems that I've carried around with me for years, that I've been in denial about for years. The ways in which those patterns of behavior have hurt the people around me and have hurt myself and have been damaging on so many levels. I had this massive seismic spiritual awakening, which almost overnight kind of reprogrammed my brain in a way, and all of a sudden opened me up to realizing my own frailty, realizing my own depression, realizing my own anxiety, realizing my own addictions, realizing so much about myself, my manipulative behaviors, so much. And I, from the moment that started happening, I immediately kind of latched onto this thing of there's work that I have to do now. I have to first and foremost like see my feelings, like really acknowledge them, see them, try not to judge them, try not to act on them, just observe them. And what I immediately started noticing is that those feelings would change so quickly, you know, and powerful, strong emotions that in the past would galvanize me into some sort of action would be replaced by something like a polar opposite, which felt as equally as strong and equally as powerful and as, and so I had already started this really strange, incredibly eye-opening, introspective kind of journey. And I was all of a sudden reading like self-help books, which I'd always been like very like looked down my nose at things like that, and like finding real like joy in other people's perspective on life and problems and how to deal with life. Started going to therapy and engaging with my therapy in a way that I had never done before. Really started going deep down onto this TRE process that I was doing and like unlocking trauma from childhood that I didn't even know was there. Connecting in the same time, like connecting with nature on a whole new kind of level. The kind of conversations that I was having with my wife and my daughter were like had this deeper kind of significance. I had more presence, and then a global pandemic happened, and then I'm like now in lockdown, and I guess what I'm really trying to hold on to is that same thing, because that thing of observing your emotions and watching them pass rather than acting on them, like doing the work on yourself, like self-care. I started doing self-care in a way I'd never done before, and that was, not just exercise, but also like meditation and like moisturizing or doing like a face mask or like, like just little things that like was me saying to myself, I love you. I care about you. You're worth this now. And so I'm trying to just keep up with that kind of stuff, because it's incredibly helpful to deal with this whole other fuck show of anxiety that comes with this thing. But it's just bizarre that I had like literally had this complete life-changing experience 2 weeks before this happened. And I, like honestly feel like it was a spiritual awakening for me. So I guess and I realized from the get-go of that, it was like, okay, there's work to be done, and the work is self-care, the work is meditation, the work is being present, acknowledging where you're at without acting on it, and that was it. And I'm trying to continue that work without getting caught up in the drama of the moment, to try and take that time out. So it's weird, eh? Kind of ironic. What are you realizing about yourself?
I noticed that my kids are watching. They're watching my every move. And I'm either going to be a demonstration of possibility, or I'm going to demonstrate some unworkable behavior. This is one of the things that I noticed many years ago, that one of my kind of inauthentic ways of being is that I've got everything handled. It's kind of water off a duck's back, and I really don't like being out of control in any way. So currently there are quite a few patches where I'm single parenting 3 kids. Kind of for the first time. It's not like an entire day, but today was like 5 hours trying to keep them out of my wife's office. And there's something about a 3-year-old's tantrums where I sometimes just can't keep it together. Or I can, but I choose not to. And then I get into the drama about it, and then I shout or I do whatever I do. And they're watching. That's really what I got. They're watching. They're seeing the behavior. And what's great about Ben and Adam is that they've got enough like training, that they'll look at me and go, what we talk about in this house is running a racket. Basically, when you're in complaint about something and upset, we will tell each other. Normally with the kids, I'll be like, Adam's like, but it's unfair, Sophie got screen time and she didn't pick up any poo, and now why does she get ice cream as well? And I'll be like, stop running your racket, Adam. Well, they're not doing that with me, so that's really interesting. Like,
they're calling you out on it.
Yeah, calling me out. And we actually, part of the bribery, the gamification of the chores, is that you get points for getting off it, for giving up your racket and giving up your drama like within 10 seconds. And so I'm like, well, okay, what do I get for that? And they go, oxytocin. We'll give you like a hug, 20 seconds, and then that's enough for you, Dad. You get all the screen time you want. I'm really getting how much worrying I do. And how ineffective that is. I really got that being worried is a biological, physical, emotional response to what's not happening now.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about all these things that are not happening now.
Yeah.
Look, some of them are happening now, but I'm either going to do something about it or not. So that's that. I'm discovering that I actually like Harry Potter.
What is it that you like about him?
I've just never been a Harry Potter guy. Never got into it, never watched the movies, never read the books. And I'm reading to my son Ben and Adam. Adam listens and then he goes and reads it again on his own. He's actually my wife just came in to say he's still up. It's like 10:30 at night. He's got to the point, he's terrified that Harry is going to be eaten by snakes or Voldemort and he can't go to sleep.
That's so cool.
I'm discovering or rediscovering how many extraordinary people are in my life, and when I'm in communication, when I'm being in communication with those people, my experience of life is transformed. Just these kinds of conversations. And if I'm not, I'm kind of left with the worst parts of my mind.
So is this an opportunity for you to sit with the worst parts of your mind a little bit longer and try and make them not so bad parts? Or do you need to...
It is definitely a practice and I had it today, like something happened that really kind of aggravated me and I was worried and I've also been meditating a lot. I call it meditation, but it's really listening to Elisha Goldstein telling me to calm down and breathe. Just like breathe in and out. And then after 10 minutes, I'm like, I normally it bleeds into a nap. So it's really sort of a instructive nap.
A medi-nap.
A medi-nap. So I have been practicing that for a number of months, probably 9 months. So, and I do it every day. After the triathlon, I go have a medi-nap. And it's an opportunity to identify whatever those negative emotions are and realize they're not personal to me. That's part of the rainstorm of... A rainstorm's not personal, but you personally get wet. You personally get affected by anxiety. But everybody is. And if you can find some techniques to let it wash through and not make it wrong, that's the practice, I think, that's available.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that I've been experiencing with that. Just observe your emotions. Like see them, name them, and watch. And after a while, they'll pass and there'll be something else.
Yeah, it's like a movie. It's like the thoughts that just come across the screen and the emotions. You can't do anything about them.
Nick, I mentioned my friend Derek earlier, and I think we've actually managed to get him on the line now. And hopefully he can give us some insight into what's happening in London at the moment. So maybe he should join us. What do you say?
Absolutely, I'd love to. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's an honor and a privilege to be on with two living legends. Nick, just want to remind you that I saw you at the Leicester Square Theatre when you did that South African show many years ago. I don't know how many years ago that was. And you did your usual great set.
No, I think I did a one-man show there a couple of years ago, and we gave away. They had a lot of rent-a-crowd people that came, and I have Hungarian fans as a result. 2 women came up to me and said, "We love you. You are amazing. We don't understand anything you say, but we like you."
Maybe it's just your sexy looks or something. I think at the time you were talking about your kids who had just been born, or they were quite young.
My kids were there in London with me, and in a small Airbnb, and as a result, we got blacklisted on Airbnb as a result.
Did you?
Yep.
What did they do?
They said we broke a door, which is possible, and we blocked the sink, and I don't know, basically just destroyed the flat.
You painted the walls with a different color, brown, maybe.
Oh my God. Derek,
yes, man.
What's the vibe like there in London?
In London town.
What is it? Is it?
Yeah, look, it's strange. It's the most unbelievable thing. So I've been here for 10 years, going on nearly 11, and it's just completely dead quiet. There's no planes in the sky. There's no trail, the plane trail, whatever they call them,
The chemtrails. Aren't those causing the virus? Conspiracy theorists?
I heard also some people are saying that 5G is causing the virus. Where do you come up with that shit?
Yeah.
Okay, 5G, which has been planted by Huawei, the Chinese phone people. Anyway, no, so it's very strange. I mean, there's no traffic. You can ride your bike in the middle of the road. You can walk around. The pollution has dropped. It's just the most unbelievable. And when I was in South Africa, when I was there, and I think I said to you, I'm looking forward to coming back because I'm going to get on my bike and go ride around and take photos of Regent Street and Piccadilly Circus and Trafalgar Square and places that you'll never get to take a proper photo because there's so many people. And then I saw a tweet by somebody saying, "I'm tired of all you people taking empty street fucking photos. It's boring." So I'm not I'm not doing that anymore. I didn't even get to take one photo, and then I felt bad. So no, but it's weird. Look, the Brits are very good at listening to rules. They're quite good at. I mean, outside the shops today, we went shopping to get some stuff. And there's actually the shops have drawn lines on the street, like 2 meters apart or 3 meters apart. So people actually stick to that kind of thing. The thing I thought about today or the other day was, we're so used to voting for a government. You vote for here, you vote. We had the election. I don't know how many elections that you vote for the Tories or the Labour Party or whatever. In America, you vote for the Democrats or the Republicans, and it's it's huge fights now between all the parties and whatever. And then something like this happens, and all of that just goes out the fucking window one time. Just out the window. Nobody gives a shit about that. Now you're relying on government, the government, whoever that is, and it's basically civil servants who now have to step up and provide the stuff that you have been cutting, massively. I mean, the Tories the Conservative Party have been cutting budgets for this kind of stuff over the last 10 years. And now all of a sudden they've got no end of money to build new hospitals and whatever. So it's just like the whole political, kind of shit that you've been living through for the last, I don't know how long, has just gone out the window. Just completely out the window. And that's going to be, for me, really interesting to see when it comes back to normal, whenever that is. And politicians are going to go back out and say, "Oh, vote for me because I can do blah, blah, blah." I mean, the general population is just going to tell them to fuck off. I mean, really.
You'd hope so. Yeah, you realize it's just a big house of cards, and then you you realize who's actually running the country. And as you say, it's, it's civil servants, it's those essential services.
And you're just seeing these people rocking up. They've got every night, they have like, not every night, whenever. They have like a press briefing when the journalists ask questions on TV. They like it's a most bizarre sight. You get the three, it used to be Boris and the health secretary, but now they're sick, so they send some other flunky. And they've got the chief medical officer who also got sick, so he's not there anymore. So you get some lady or man there that nobody's ever heard of, like now telling us what to do. It's like, well, wait a minute. Who are you, A? And B, where have you been? And C, do we now trust you because you're like now the chief medical officer of England that nobody even knew existed? I mean, it's like, what are you talking? I mean, if you wanted to stage a coup, now's the time to do it.
Yeah. Is there also this incredible outpouring of like gratitude to those people on the front line?
Absolutely. I blew my vuvuzela the other day. That's instead of banging pots, but it didn't really around me. Nobody can hear anything anyway. So no, but I mean, also people get tired of it. It's like, okay, we thank the NHS. We really appreciate you and la la la. But they're kind of saying, instead of banging pots and clapping outside and singing thank you, how about giving us some fucking protection so we don't get killed? It's like, I mean, yes, it's nice and all of that sort of stuff. But I mean, listen, thank God I live here, not in the States. What's going on there is frightening, beyond frightening, because there's no functioning health system. There's no national health system. If you've got money, you're okay. If you don't, you're screwed, frankly. I mean, it's just frightening. And I just saw a tweet now, line outside pawn shops, PAWN, not PORN, people pawning their stuff because they got no cash. Like, mean, it's you're looking at like potential of proper anarchy, proper. I mean, that's the doomsday kind of thing.
I was telling Nick about Mothers to Mothers. And I was interested to know what... okay, first of all, you should probably just kind of give the listeners an idea as to what Mothers to Mothers is. And then I wanted to know, how are you guys coping with COVID-19 in the context of that?
No, it's a very, very interesting question. And so Mothers to Mothers is a NGO that was started in about 21 years ago by a friend of mine, Mitch Besser, who's American. He kind of in the shower one day thought, well, there's no doctors, there's not enough nurses, etc. So who's better than somebody who's given birth to mentor a pregnant mother to tell her how to handle what's going to happen to her and take her ARVs and all that sort of stuff. So that was the genius idea, is basically mothers who've given birth, mentor mothers who are about to give birth. So that's basically grown from one clinic in Khayelitsha to we're now in 8 countries in Africa. We've seen over the years about 4.5 million women. We've brought down the incidence of HIV to less than 1% in the clinics that we see people. It's a most unbelievably successful program. And I've been involved right from the beginning. I was on the board right in the beginning. I was chairman of the South African board, and I'm on the UK board. And we have to raise every year $20 million. That's our budget, basically. And we employ the mentor mothers. We pay them they're not volunteers. And now we've gone out into early child development and various other things, So the irony is that some of the kids who were born at the beginning of the program are now 17, 18, 19 years old. They now are vulnerable. So basically, that's the history. So now what's happened, we had to basically shut down because the mentor mothers are HIV positive, most of them. And they are extremely vulnerable to getting this COVID. If they get it, it's really bad news. I mean, they are immune deficient. Compromised, that's the word. We had that's why I came out. We have our global board meeting every March, in middle of March in Cape Town. And we had to cancel it and have it on the phone, whatever, which was a bugger of note. And the problem is also now, one of our biggest problems is fundraising because HIV, that's just been railroaded by this thing. But even before then, HIV, to fundraise for HIV is very difficult because people are saying, we're tired of it. Haven't you sorted that out already? It's been 30 years. The other more sexy diseases, and this is a very sexy one. So it's a hugely challenging time at the moment. We've got money in the bank for the rest of this year, but after that, it's tricky. And it's for, it's for all NGOs. I run my folks set up a foundation also about 20 years ago, which I run, called Make an Immediate Difference, and we give out money to a whole bunch of little NGOs, about 38 of them this year, and they're all just hurting big time, just hurting. It's not good, man. Desperate stuff.
Derek, be well.
Thanks for joining us. Strength, love to your family.
And to you, man. Love to Danny.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Marcus.
That was Derek. Interesting. He's got a kind of a different. I mean, he's got his own Derek energy, but you can also sense that they're at a different stage of the thing. I don't know. I'm trying to pick up on where different people are at with this in different parts of the world.
Well, it's interesting. I read something on the BBC website about sort of applauding South Africa for the leadership and decisive action of our government in comparison to a lot of other governments.
Yeah.
And I think we realize we're quite fortunate in that regard. And people in first world countries, inverted commas, are showing a lot more confusion and the hell's going on. And I think we're lucky from that point of view. We're unlucky from other points of view.
Yeah, it's almost that thing of like in those, as you say, inverted commas, first world countries, they can't understand why the sky's falling. Whereas we're like, it's been falling.
We're surprised it's not yet fallen.
Yeah, exactly.
What is going on?
I'm tired, Nicholas. I'm so tired. It's been a really long lockdown, and it's only been 1 week.
Can I ask you something?
And I want to go to... Yeah.
What I'm sort of present to is wanting to get this perfect and feel like it's really working and working very well. And
do you mean your life or this podcast?
I think this podcast may be representative of my life.
Can I tell you to let that go?
Please, can you tell me that?
Please let it go. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. The truth is, the only reason we're doing this is because we're terrified. We're terrified. We don't know what else to do. And we found some comfort in acknowledging that to each other.
Yes.
And now what we're doing is acknowledging it to each other and allowing other people to listen to that. And that's all it is.
Can you just say that at the end of every episode? Because I'll forget.
I will. I will keep.
Okay. Good.
I will keep reminding you. This isn't perfect. We're just trying to be human. Yeah. I think we should get more guests. I think it's nice to hear from other people around the world. Should we do that again?
It's great. It's great. Let's do that.
Cool. Buddy, I love you.
I love you
too. Good luck. We'll do this again.
Is the water still leaking?
No water's leaking. Everything's fine. I'm just so tired. I'm going to sleep and wake up in the middle of the night and wonder why I'm awake.
Call me.
I will. We won't record that conversation.
No.
We'll just actually have... Cheers, bro.
Okay, bro. Good night.
Nice.